Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Pulse Pod. This week we are joined by Daniel Cooper and Adam Davison. Hello, gentlemen. How are we tonight?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Excellent, not too by myself and Adam. We were both stood fairly close to each other at the Tamworth game yesterday. And Daniel, you were in the media box for the Tamworth game
Was?
yesterday,
Yeah.
doing reporting for the Red radio station. And we'll hear some clips of your interview with Lennie Lawrence later on in this episode. But first off, gentlemen, looking at the game itself, sum up how you thought things went. It felt like, from my point of view, it felt like everything before the 89th minute and then everything after the 89th minute. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if Adam wants to go first, but I just thought that for the first 89 minutes of the game, barring a couple of long throws, it was as comfortable as it could be for a highly rotated 11. A lot of players who hadn't played a couple of first starts, Loa and Bondswell. But I just thought we controlled the game relatively well against a difficult side. And then within the space of one chance, the game just flipped on its head, and then the shootout. What can you say about that?
I just thought, from my point personally, the game was it was nothing flash. I was cold. At times, I was bored, to be quite frank. I mean, you look at what the game actually was. You look at the Pools 11. It just everything was what I expected it to be. We got the goal, and I thought that was pretty much it. It was all about game management, getting through to the end. But then, in typical fashion this season, it had to be that Chris Ray comes on, scores a goal, and as we all know, historically, pools and penalty shootouts just don't go hand in hand, and it was just a really poor end to the night, really. Disappointing to say the least.
Was it Gary Madine's goal?
No, I mean, how he has claimed that, how he's being awarded that, I don't know. It was as clear and obvious, blatant own goal, I think, as you'll see. But such is football.
Well, we were stood in the millhouse and immediately everyone turned to each other in and around our vicinity and said, that's never his goal in a million years. Daniel, you had a better view than us in the press box. You're a bit higher up. Did you think the same?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that it might have been going in, and it's one of those that if it's going on target, you give him it. But from where I was, I think, I mean, he's always claiming it, isn't he? He's an
Oh, it's a proper
experienced goal
strikers
scorer.
thing,
He's
isn't it? Yeah,
always
you've got to
he's
claim
always
it.
going to claim it. So I think give him the benefit of the doubt there.
Fair enough. It's the second goal for the club. So we'll see how he gets on. Is there I wouldn't say there's an argument for him to start because of who's ahead of him, but is he look? He's certainly looking sharper than he did at the start of the season, isn't he, Gary Medine?
Yeah, I mean, he came off a massive injury. Got a couple of 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here, and then obviously had that injury setback in one of the previous games. But I think since he's come back from that injury, he's looked a lot more what I expected from him because he's been a bit of a handful at times. He's tried, he's ran his legs off, and to be fair, 2-2 now, two in his last two. I don't think you can really say anything negative about his performances.
I don't think he starts over Manny D. I think many people would probably agree with that, but I think for who he is, what he offers, I think he's a great option off the bench. He's a different dynamic. He adds something different for the forward line. So yeah, I think it's just a case of continuing with what we have at the minute.
And it was a heavily rotated side yesterday. We had a lot of changes. I think eight in total. We had a change in goalkeeper. I think the only starters potentially. Tom Parks was still in defence. We had Nathan Sherrin moving back into midfield, his preferred position. Who was the other one?
Jack Hunter.
Hunter, that's the one. 'Cause he came
Yeah.
in for yeah, that was right. But was there anyone that started that hasn't been starting that you feel could potentially nail down to start the place?
I thought personally Mancini when he was made a couple of blistering runs. I thought we saw a little bit of the old Anthony Mancini as well in terms of wanting to get past his man, wanting to always get a ball and get a shot off. So I thought that was quite nice to see. But apart from that, I don't think there was anybody that wowed me. Maybe Dan Dodds, I thought, put in a shift, especially going forward. But apart from them two, I think for me, that's about it in terms of people pushing to start either the Saturday game or the games after.
Adam, anyone for you?
No, I probably agree. I think you'd probably go with Mancini. I mean, he probably, like Daniel said there, he looked like he was in one of those moods last night. I think there was many times where he got forward and you thought he was going to do something. And I think more times than not, he was let down by just the way the game was going, a lack of options. I think, let down the product that he clearly had. But no, I think Bondswell looked, for me, physically poor. I don't think I'd be starting him. I mean, I'd sort of go to him. Obviously, his opportunities have been limited. Loa wasn't great, wasn't terrible. Medine I've spoke about. So yeah, I think Mancini and Dodds will be the only two I think who would go into any sort of contention for Saturday.
Would you put Dodd straight back in, considering I know Nathan Sherrin isn't a right back by trade, but his performances there have been solid enough, particularly, I mean, we've spoken about him before on the podcast. He's been the Iron Man this season in terms of how much football he's played and the consistency of his performances. Would you put him back into midfield, just obviously his preferred position, and bring Dodds back in potentially?
I would. I would. I mean, credit to Nathan Sherrin. Everywhere he's been asked to play, he's looked just as good. He's been phenomenal. Um, but no, I would draw if Dodds is available, fit, round to go, then for me he quite easily slots back in and reverts at right back. Sherrin back into midfield and whatever else needs to be done. If Mancini comes in for Charman, then for me that would be quite straightforward.
And Daniel, to you mentioned Mancini there. Adam Campbell's basically made what you would suggest is his spot, his own,
Yeah.
because for some reason Mancini seems to be thought of as a right winger under Lennie Lawrence, even though in the past he's made more of an impact in the 10 in the hole, running at people, and we've seen glimpses of that this season on the right. Do you think Mancini should be moved back into the middle over Adam Campbell, or would you prefer him starting on the right?
I think he deserves some time to show what he can do in the 10 spot because, like you said, he's been playing out on the right very, very often under Lenny. So I think, it's one of those, you give him chance in his natural position because, of course, the season at the start, there was no real set number 10. So I think that position for me is still it's still in the balance. I think if Mancini put in a good performance again on Saturday off the bench, based off of what Lenny was saying, he doesn't think that Mancini will start Saturday. So I think if he keeps putting some good performances off the bench, I don't see why he shouldn't take that number 10 spot back because when he's in the mood, like he was last night, he was a joy to watch. I mean, defenders were frightened, and he's one of those that gets you on your feet.
We've been speaking about what Lennie Lawrence has had to say, and you very kindly given us permission to use the clip from the Red Radio of yourself speaking to Lennie Lawrence, and we can hear from him now.
Lenny, out of the FA Trophy on penalties, how do you sum that up, losing in them circumstances?
Disappointing to lose. I mean, as I've said to you, to be brutally honest, on January the 4th, the next round, I'll be sorry that I'm not going to Sutton in a game sandwich between Oldham at home and Barnet away. I'm not sure I will be sad, but I'm sad now because of the nature of the way we lost the game and obviously losing the penalty shootout. So you want to win a game of football, and I thought we'd done enough, but we didn't manage to score that second goal, which would have sealed it. And to be fair to them, they fielded a stronger team than I thought they would. And they can get a goal. To be fair, they can get a goal.
Well, that's one of my questions. How much did it surprise you when you saw the team sheet and saw they'd only made 2 changes from the side that beat Burton Albion?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. No, I was surprised. I thought they would. I thought with the programme of games they got coming up, but I understand that. Maybe that's how they work. Fair play to them. It worked for them, didn't it? I didn't think it was going to, but it did. It worked for them. And said to them, credit to them. Really, they're going to have a memorable season, really, especially if they. What matters is when they play Tottenham in the FA Cup on the Sunday, we're playing them. What was the Tuesday, and it will now be the Wednesday. What really matters is we beat them in that league game.
Yeah, definitely. And result aside, how did you see the performance from the lads who maybe haven't started as often, haven't played as often? How do you think they did out there?
Okay. Some made more of an impact on the game than others. Okay. I mean, you can't expect everything to slot into place immediately straight away. There was enough there to win that football match, but we couldn't see it out. The criticism I would have is you've got to learn to win a game 1-0. And sometimes you've got to see it out. They call it game management these days. And to concede so late and in such a manner was, as I say, disappointing.
Luke Charman was taken off through injury, and he's been playing really, really well as a late. He's been getting plaudits from media, fans, everybody. One, how do you think Luke's going to fare with this injury? Is it serious, or how much do you know? And also, Luke's performances as of late, what do you make of them?
I think he's done very well. I mean, he's been excellent the last few games. I put him on because people were tired. I wish I hadn't now, because that's why. If you want a reason why Feathers and Manny D and Fergie and him were sitting on the bench, that's why. Because there's a real chance now that he won't make Saturday. He's got a sore neck. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but his neck hurts him. So we'll have to wait and assess that on Thursday and Friday. Hopefully he'll be fit, but that'll be another disappointment if he's not.
On the positives from today, though, what a moment for Kean Foreman, making his debut, only 17 years of age, born in the town. How do you think he did in his 10 or 15 minutes or so?
Okay, I mean he did his little bits and pieces. I mean he was a bit unlucky when we got to the byline once. He went to the middle of the goal. If he'd have come to the front and across the defender, he might have. But that's all right. That's experience for him. So yeah, I'm delighted for the kid. You know, he's fine.
Do you see this now as a chance to put full focus on the league? Of course, Southend coming up on Saturday, and finally crack on with a push up the table and keep pushing towards them playoff spots you always talk about.
Yeah. Well, at the start of November, I said, by the end of November, we need to be no worse off than we are now, which was 16th, and I can't remember how many points off the playoffs, 6 points off the playoffs. Now we're 11th, and we're 2 points off them unless it's changed tonight. So December's even harder. So we've got to make sure that we are no worse off than we are now at the turn of the year, up to and including that Oldham game, which will be difficult. So that's the aim, and if we can do that, then we're set for some sort of concerted attack on the playoffs in the second half of the season.
It is a quick turnaround for Southend on Saturday. What does the rest of the week look like for the lads? I presume they're off tomorrow. Yeah. What does the rest of the week look like?
Yeah, now they'll be off tomorrow. Everybody will be in on Thursday, but the ones who haven't played will train as normal. The ones who have played, we've got to be careful with, because I think there's going to be some recovery needed there, because obviously they haven't played for a long time and they were physically gone, some of them, when they came off.
And finally, do you look at Southend? Of course, it's such a long trip down there on a short week. A chance to right a wrong from tonight and keep that good league run going. Of course, you mentioned we've made up a little bit of ground.
It's not so much right or wrong, but we don't want to. The selection tonight was made with half an eye on Southend. So if you go there and get a result, it's justifiable. If you don't, then people say to you, well, what was all that about on Tuesday? You might as well have played the starting 11. So I accept that, but hopefully we can get down there and get the job done.
Thanks, Lennie.
The immediate thing there, the first thing that he said was surrounding whether he will be bothered, to paraphrase, if he was in the draw for the next round. He did say, to be fair, that when it comes to tonight and the aftermath, he's disappointed. But is he reflecting the wider fan base, do you think, in terms of there was a general apathy towards the trophy when we were first involved in it? Daniel, I'll come to you first. Do you think that is how the majority of the squad will feel? Because it is a long way to Sutton.
It is, but the FA Trophy to me reminds me of that season when we made the run in the Papa John's Trophy. Nobody really cares until you get to the latter stages. So I think there's a lot of people disappointed in more the manner of how the game went, conceding late and then, losing 3-0 in the penalty shootout is never good. But I think as long as we can make that push in the league and this doesn't sort of take away from any momentum and we can keep pushing towards the playoffs and we finish in the playoff spots, I don't think anybody will look back and say, oh, well, we didn't beat Tamworth and go to Sutton on the 4th of January.
That feels like a fair assessment, Adam.
Yeah, I think initially I was frustrated because it would have been nice to see Pools maximise the potential of the trophy, try and push on to the later stages, maybe, find that trip to Wembley, which we nearly did in the Papa John. But the counter-argument is valid. There is more important pressing matters at hand, the league, that return to the Football League, which, it's important. So look, I think it is what it is. We're out now, and hopefully we can kick on Saturday, continue in the vein of form that we've currently found in the in the league, and push on. Um, but yeah, I think, I think it is what it is.
Yeah, so it is one of those trophies, as you mentioned, Daniel, about the Papa John's Trophy or whatever it's called these days. It seems to change names every 5 minutes. I think it's the Virtue Trophy now.
Yeah,
If anyone
yeah,
knows
yeah.
what the virtue
I think
virtue
so. Yeah,
actually is. But yeah, it is one of those trophies where no one really cares in the early stages, and then once Wembley's in sight, if you like, people begin to think we could actually go.
yeah.
It gets there, but unfortunately, our record in this competition has never been particularly great, has it? I mean, we've gone out to some, um, well, we've had some shock results, let's say, against Tamworth. I'm not sure you could call it a shock result. They were good in the cups, but Hampton and Richmond last season. We've gone out to Telford before. We've gone out to Workington before. It does feel like one of those competitions where we get beat by a lower league side every season. So, unfortunately, yeah, that's the way it is. He also mentioned in the interview there he was talking about the progression that his side's made since he took over. He mentioned that it's about 6 or 7 points from the playoffs. It was 16th when he took over, and now he mentioned 2 points there in the interview. It is 3 points now because Sutton got a point at Halifax last night. But there was the progression there on the pitch. Can you see the progression on the pitch?
I can. I think that you go to a Hartlepool game and you know what to expect now as well, which is important. I think, especially under the back end of Darren Sarll's tenure, it was a little bit like, what's going to happen? Is it just going to be hoofball? Is it just going to be kick and run? But I think, especially under Lennie now, you sort of know what to expect. And I think that's a lot more down to the coaches that have come in as well. Anthony Limbrick, Gavin Skelton. I think they've had a massive impact in the sort of Hartlepool United setup that you see now as well. Because I don't think shape-wise anything's changed, but I think it's just more of maybe a mentality thing because everyone seems a little bit happier, I think is the best way to put it.
Adam, concur?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. There's definitely been a shift from where we were when the pieces were picked up from the Sarl era, both on and off the pitch. I mean, no doubt when Lenny got on the training ground, there was fractured feelings. There was probably frustrations amongst most, and a few of the players have been out in the press since and said how much of a joy it's been to work with Lenny. And there's a plan in place. I think we're now starting to see players who weren't really thriving under Sarl now thriving. Someone like Adam Campbell, who I think has played incredibly better under Lenny and Limbrick and Skelton than he did under Sarl. So yeah, there's definitely positive signs. The trajectory is good. We're looking up the table now rather than down it. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting, tough Christmas period. Southend, Yeovil, and then Gateshead on the other side of Christmas. But consistency is key, and at the moment we're slowly going about our business. So I think for us, it's one game at a time. Get to January. Can we see some bodies come in? Can we improve and add to what we have and give us that extra bit of a chance? But I suppose that'll be a matter of time. But yeah, I think at the moment it's one game at a time.
How many points do you think we get from those 4 games? So that's Southend, Yeovil, Gateshead, and Oldham.
I'm going to say at least a minimum of, I'll say 5. What were the games? Sorry.
So it's Southend away,
Yep.
Yeovil at home, Gateshead away, and Oldham at home. So that's up to New Year's
Ooh.
Day, including New Year's Day. So then after that, as Lenny's mentioned, we have the 10-day gap to Barnet away. So from those 4 games, if you go one by one, so Southend away, Yeovil at home, Gateshead, and then Oldham.
I'll
Put
say
you on the
8
spot a
minimum.
bit.
I'll
Eight.
say 8. I'll say 8 minimum. I think if you get around 8 points, I think that will be a decent return given the quality, the caliber of teams you're up against. I think if
So
you can go to somewhere like Gateshead and win your home games, I think get a point against Southend, point against Oldham. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad point away from home.
no, so 8 points is an unbeaten run. It's 2 wins, 2 draws.
So obviously, it's the hope that killed you, but
It is a
no,
bit.
I think at the moment, like I say, I think we're ticking over. I think we're going about our business. We have the quality, we have the players. Um, yeah, I think it would be a good return.
Is that something you think about, Daniel? Is it 8 points? Is that
When you posed the question to Adam there, I was thinking 7 in my head. I thought, I can see us dropping a game, but I can also see us winning 2, drawing the other one. And I think 8 is more than reasonable as well. I think there is a very good chance we could go to the away games and pick up a point. But I don't see us getting through the next 4 games without losing a game. I don't see it.
I would probably agree. I think there will be a defeat amongst them. I think.
do you think the most likely loss is Gateshead?
I don't fear Gateshead as much as I did last season. I don't think. I think if I'm looking at a potential defeat, then for me, I would say either potentially Southend or Oldham. I'd be more inclined to say Oldham, I think, in my opinion.
No, it's not. I mean, Oldham have been a difficult side recently for us. I mean, that basically signalled the end of John Askey last season, didn't it? When we went to Oldham and the let's call it the incident with Mike Fondop nearly jumping into the crowd, and then we lost 3-1 a matter of a week later, I think it was, because it was a Boxing Day, New Year's Day game last season, wasn't it? Oldham. So realistically, they could well do a job on us again. It's not out of the realm, but I mean, we haven't really mentioned the Oval game that much. Do you think that is out of the four? Do you think that is the one that realistically we should be winning if you were to pick one?
I think so, in my opinion. I think we're a superior side, and I think it's the fact that we're at home as well. I think you've just got to win your home games. Do you know what I mean? That's your bread and butter. I think if you want to win any game, then that's the one for me personally.
Something else that Lenny mentioned in the interview was about Luke Charman came on, basically came off, and he's mentioned a neck injury of some description. He's not sure of the exact nature, but a sore neck. He might not be available for Saturday. Is that it feels like a loss if he's not able to play, even if it is just for Saturday because of the form that he's been in. Is there a natural replacement? I mean, given the hierarchy of the squad at the minute, you would assume that Mancini would come in on that right hand side. Daniel, do you think that's the way to go if he's not available?
Yeah, I think he will go with Mancini. However, that comment that he did make, I think when he was speaking to one of the other guys in the room about Mancini not being able to play consistent 90 minutes, so he's not sure if he would start. To me, I would have said before yesterday, Matherin would have been a good replacement on that side if needs be. But I think yesterday has completely changed that with him playing more centrally, which I think caught a lot of people out. So I think it would have to be Mancini. It would have to be. I don't see a world where anybody else comes in.
It's amazing that he's playing. He seems to be falling into that trap recently of playing people out of position. I
Yeah.
know Nathan Sharon is the exception because we needed a solution at right back, and there was suspensions, and there was. I mean, to be fair, people would argue that Louis Stevenson should really have been given a chance because he's out on loan at Whitby now, got man of the match in his first appearance, I believe. Are you surprised, Adam, that we've not seen more of Louis Stevenson, especially with the injuries and the suspensions that we've had?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the fact that we're sending him out on loan is the thing that surprises me the most. Not just keeping him on the bench, but I think you keep as many players in their favourable positions as possible. So I think as much as Nathan Sharon's been brilliant in the right back role, he's stepped in superbly. I just think it would have been a lot better moving Louis Stevenson into there where he's natural, and then keeping a sort of set midfield. So of course Hunter was out and then Hunter came back. So I feel like that midfield partnership isn't really set in stone because what happens when Sharon moves back into midfield? Does it go Nicky Featherstone and Sharon, Hunter and Sharon? I think he's opened up a can of worms for himself on who plays where now that Dodsy's back.
I suppose that is true. I don't think. I think it'd be very difficult for him to drop Featherstone from his strongest lineup,
Yeah.
particularly with the form he's shown this season. We've had the criticism, certainly in the early part of the season, that if you have a three of Featherstone, Hunter, and Sharon, it's very workmanlike, but there's nothing really there that'll create anything. Adam, do you? I mean, A, would you agree with that? And B, how would your first choice midfield look at the moment?
Oh, I mean, based on current form and what we've seen, then Featherstone for me is undroppable. I know my dad will hate that, I mean, you know me, Dad.
I
Hates
do
the
indeed.
bloke. Has no good word to say about it, and I find it bizarre. And I've actually stopped arguing now because I just kind of feel like every time there's question marks or there's questions posed, he has a way of answering them. Nicky Featherstone, I think even at his grand age now, he's still showing that he's got something to add. I think a lot of the problems early doors, that midfield three, I thought it was very like for like. There was no variety there at all. So I think for me, it's definitely Sharon and Featherstone, and that's no disrespect to Hunter. I think he's been a good signing. Obviously frustrating when he got the injury, but no, I think it would be Featherstone, Sharon.
And then I assume, would it be Campbell or Mancini in the 10?
See, it's a tough one because we know what Mancini's all about, especially when he does get in those moods. We've seen it this season. Fully enough, Tamworth away, getting beat at half time. He comes on, runs the show. We end up winning. He did it at Boston. You're down at half time, you're getting beat. What does he do? He brings him on. He runs the show. We win. But then, like I say, Campbell R finds kind of found himself. He's found himself playing in a way that suits him. He can get on the ball. He can create. I think if you're looking at Saturday, that's the next game. I think this season, I think we've been more of an away team. I think some of our better performances have come away from the Vic. So I would start Campbell, and I think I would look at more maybe at Loa Mathurin to come in and replace Charman if he's not fit. Manny D up top, Gray on the other side. I think that would be my kind of view on it.
It's interesting that we've got so many choices now, which is not something we've realistically had in seasons gone by, particularly with the 7 subs coming in this season. We've got a bigger bench to choose from as well. It is refreshing to see that many choices, isn't it?
Must be a bit of a headache, no? In one
It's a
sense.
it's a headache in one sense, but it is good to have the choices there instead of having to rely
Oh,
on the
definitely.
same 11 every week, and then one of them gets injured, and then we're relying on players who the general consensus is that they wouldn't be able to start if the first team were available. Daniel, it's the first time you've been on, so I can ask you this
Yeah,
question without repeating myself. Is there a hope of playoffs? Do you genuinely think we can get into the playoffs?
yeah. I don't see why we can't. I mean, you look at the quality of players we've got. Manny Dissaruve, one of the best strikers at this level in this league, in my opinion. I think he's a proper goal scorer, and if you are going to make the playoffs, you need a proper goal scorer. And then you spoke about it briefly there, the amount of options, especially over the Christmas period, and towards the back end of the season when it starts getting a little bit Saturday, Tuesday. I feel like that's kind of when we can come into our own with rotation because we have that many options that will be able to keep up a lot more than other sides. So I think we've got enough in the starting 11 in themselves, but I think depth-wise, we're set up in a position to where I don't see why we can't. I mean, I'm not going to say that we definitely will because it's pools, but I just think that I don't see a world where we can't. I think we can at least finish in that. If we don't make playoffs, I think it'll be a case of eighth or ninth.
That sounds about right. I mean, Adam, I have asked you the question before on the first episode. Do you still believe that that is the case? I know there's the old cliche that anything can happen in football, and obviously we can do it, but do you think we will?
Every time I've been asked this question, I've said no. And I think at the time that was probably legitimate because we were under Sal. There was just you didn't see it, but now we have seen that shift under Lenny, under Limbrick, under Skelton. There has been an improvement to performances. We have found a little bit of form. We are looking up the table as opposed to down it. We've closed the gap. It is cliche. Anything can happen in football. I think we can. Like Daniel said, we have the quality. I think if we can remain consistent, win our home games, then I think we will stand ourselves in very good stead and give ourselves our opportunity to do so. But football's a funny old game. All it takes is injuries or, you know, a couple of other mitigating circumstances and bang, the answer reverses. So I think at the moment we're going to give ourselves that chance. Um, do I change my mind? Do I change my mind? I will. I'll say we will.
You know what the next question is, don't you? How high do you think we'll finish? If you think that we're finishing in the playoffs, do you think we'll sneak in, or do you think it will be a case of, a good run that gets us comfortably in?
For me personally, I don't know about Daniel, but I think it'll be like a sixth or a seventh. I don't think we're going to like shoot up massively and be talking about fifth, fourth, or potentially third because I think there is really good teams up there. There is your Forest Greens, your your Yorks, your Oldhams, who I think are superior to us, who are better than us. But I certainly think like a sixth or a seventh. I think it's possible for me. I think that's where we would, that's the benchmark. I think for us. I think if we don't, I think if we did fail to finish in the playoffs, I think it would be a bit of a, for me, it would be a failure of a season. I think that's got to be it. I think I said at the start of the season, you know, you look at the squad, the quality that we have: Campbell, Manny D, Charman, Gray, Sharon. I think we've got all of the tools that we need. I think it's just about, for me, it's down to Lennie, it's down to the management team now to find the form, to find consistency, and just to get the finer details right.
Daniel, do you think we're the sixth or seventh best team in the league?
I think we could go as high as fifth. I think that would be for us. When you look at the other sides, as Adam said, you've got your Yorks, Barnet, Forest Green, Oldham. I think for me that is your set top four. But I think after that, then I think anybody could sneak into fifth, sixth, or seventh. But I don't see us really being up there and skipping the first round. I don't think we'll be the second or the thirds where you go straight through. But I do see a world where we can make a deep run in the playoffs because, again, playoff football, anything can happen.
Yeah, it's a good point these both make about the top teams being, like they're basically assumed to finish in the top three now, top four. You've got the likes of York, Barnet, and Forest Green. I said at the start of the season the Forest Green would win the league simply based on that squad. That squad was ridiculous for a non-league side. York have come out of nowhere, and Barnet were many people's favourites. I just thought Forest Green would beat them to the punch, if you like. But the way that it's shaken out, I think you are right in terms of, the top three or four will probably be, as you've mentioned, and then it will be down to whoever makes the run, whoever gets that late run, and maintains the momentum, if you like, going into the playoffs. It'll be an exciting end to the season, certainly. I mean, if you look at our final games of the season, that last little run that we've got, it's not great in terms of if you want momentum. Hopefully, we're in and around the playoffs by that point. But you look at, off the top of my head, you look at the last four. We've got Oldham away on Good Friday, Gateshead at home on Easter Monday, Rochdale away is our fancy dress game. That's the last away game of the season. And then Forest Green at home is the last game of the season. So as a final four, that is about as bad as it could be, isn't it?
On paper, yeah, but like I say, I know it sounds cliche again, but football is a funny game, and in this league as well, especially, anyone can beat anyone. I just kind of feel like if we are in a position where we desperately need that run, then if we turn it on, who knows? You know, I think if by then Forest Green are done, if they're already up, or if other teams have already, acclaimed their places in the playoffs, then naivety could creep into other teams, and we could just capitalise on that. So there is two and three ways of looking at it. It is a tough run in, but again, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And anything can happen. It's a game of football. It's a 90-minute game.
It's very true. I mean, there's potential as well there, isn't there? That if one or more of those teams are in the playoffs, if we're playing them just before the league's finished, I mean, the best example probably, if you look at the championship last season, I think Middlesbrough played Blackburn, or Middlesbrough played, who did they play? They played someone the last game of the Coventry, it was. Middlesbrough played Coventry the last game of the season. It might be in the season before, and got beat by Coventry, and then they played Coventry again in the playoffs, and Coventry beat them again in the playoffs. So it is something potentially that if you're playing those sorts of teams going into the end of the season, it could sort of provide momentum, but it also gains a bit of a psychological advantage, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll dive in on that. Yeah, I think, especially as you mentioned there, when teams play against each other in the playoffs and then play them just before the playoffs, it does give that sort of mental advantage, even just as a confidence boost, I think, as well, more than anything, to the side that is obviously who has beat them in the past. I think going into that game, you can think, oh, we beat them recently. We sort of know what to do against them. You sort of feel like you have their number. So you can go out there, play with a little bit more freedom, play with a little bit more confidence. And I think that's what it is more than anything. I think confidence is huge, which we've seen, especially this season, from some of our players under Sal to now. I just think that that'll be a teller for me for the playoffs. If we are in and around the playoffs, then that final run, even if we squeeze in and don't do very well, I think that'll sort of cement how our playoff run's going to go.
Well, to be fair, if we're in it, you've got to be in it to win it, as the old saying goes. Is very true. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We will wrap that up there for this week. And hopefully everyone joins us next week. Thank you very much again to you both, and thank you for letting us use the clips from the Red Radio commercial
No worries.
radio station in Middlesbrough. Daniel, anything else you'd like to add about that? I know, say you do good work on the radio there.
Yeah, we're just a local radio station, doing reports on all the local football, and we're just for local people.
Well, that reminds me of the League of Gentlemen now, a local station for local people. If you've ever seen the League of Gentlemen, great show. And Adam, thank you very much for attending as well. We'll hopefully see you later on in the season. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And hopefully we'll see you all again next week. Thank you very much.